Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we're talking about the fall of Beckett, potentially. The owner of Beckett was just sentenced to prison for basically having $2 million in fraud, which isn't $2 billion in fraud.
Billion.
Two with a B. Lots of
Yeah.
millions of fraud. And on top of that, we want to discuss what's happening with Fanatics and them canceling their Orlando show and potentially other shows as well. So in this episode, you have me, Scott, we have Phil, Jeff, and Ty. A little bit of backstory. The holding company for Beckett, the reason why Beckett hasn't done anything lately is basically because they have been going through a bunch of legal battles. And the owner of that holding company just pleaded guilty because he has $2 billion that he owes creditors. And they used Beckett as collateral in some of those deals. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So, guys, what is your first instinct and thoughts on this particular situation? What do you think, Phil?
Well, I think I heard like 3-4 years ago that this guy, for some reason, I thought he was already in jail. So it's the guy that owns the private equity company that owns Beckett, right? So now it's official that he's going to have to sell off his assets and Beckett gets sold, presumably. That's too bad. You wonder if there's irreversible damage to the brand to the point where a suitor that's in the hobby won't be interested. Suitor meaning Collector's Universe or Fanatics. It seems like Fanatics maybe has bitten off a little bit more than they can chew. And some of this might be more about maybe what they need to do to clean up their books before they go public, improve their margins a little bit. I'm not sure. But it seems like they're trying to divert attention from some of their business lines and bring back, attention to the stuff that makes them the most money. Yeah, this is too bad with Beckett. None of us should really be surprised. They completely dropped the ball during the pandemic. I look back at my old Bowman Chrome autograph multiplier charts from like 2019. And at that point, BGS 9.5 True Gems were like 90% the value of PSA 10s for Bowman Chrome autos. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, wow. Like that's what I was recommending because I was like I had like recommended buy prices for like certain players. And I'm like, oh man. So yeah, they've fallen and deservedly so. They didn't go after the bulk market like PSA did. That's fine, whatever. But they didn't really go after the other market. They're just relying on
one note
value.
Their 45-day turnaround is like indefinite. They do have bulk, right? It's like $15 a card, but man, those cards are taking way longer than they anticipate while PSA is beating their time. It's crazy.
Yeah, they didn't invest enough money into the business, during the huge backlog that PSA had, which was 10 million plus cards, right? During the worst, like 12, 13 million plus. Customer service was terrible, but PSA eventually caught up and they invested resources to grow capacity. Beckett, we got a new website from them, I guess. Are we still waiting on an app? We still don't have a registry. Website still sucks. Like, what are they doing? The holder still has like spots in it, condensation spots. Like, I like how it protects the card, but it won't protect your skin with those sharp edges on the corners. Whatever. Just we've slammed Beckett enough on this channel, and the Otani I just purchased is in a Beckett holder. So, am I scared? Not really. Fortunately, they do have a reputation for slabbing the thick cards, slabbing high value cards, and that's why you buy heterogeneous cards. So the grade and grading company doesn't matter as much. If you target the right cards. So that's important too. Just have to know and trust that it's an authentic card. That's pretty big.
There's some big cards, right? So I have a Mookie Betts Bowman Chrome Gold autograph in a BGS 9.5 case. Don't you too, Jeff? That exact card? So we're going to have to potentially cross those someday to PSA.
A lot of my Bowman Chrome autos are in BGS. I mean, they were the market leader in the mid 2010s, and it's even longer for especially for Bowman first autos. So there's a lot of big cards in those cases. Yeah, will they be crossed? I don't know. I guess it's going to depend what Phil was alluding to. Who buys them out? Are they gonna be part of that SGC PSA conglomerate? Is it going to be some other entity? That's going to determine how quickly we need to cross over, if ever.
We've seen with some of these companies that go bankrupt, like some backdoor stuff happens or bad stuff happens. We're going to see some fake slabs, right? Yeah, it's just one of those things where weird stuff can happen in the next few years with Beckett. I don't think it will. I think it's going to work out. I would love to see like even CGC buy him. They have ties to Beckett themselves because Andy, who's the head grader at CGC, worked at Beckett. it would be great to see some reputable company buy them versus a collectors who owns PSA and SGC, because we're like in monopoly territory at that point. We probably stick to oligopoly if we have CGC buy it, but either way, it's still better than monopoly. But we kind of at oligopoly anyways right now with grading. What do you think, Ty?
I want to give some credit to Simon 466 Cards, who was all over this
months ago.
Yeah, months ago. Some people brand themselves hobby watchdogs and just don't like the way that somebody looks at the camera and make up stories about them. He actually did research and actually looked into this, and he does a lot of times. So give that guy some credit. I know him decently well. I've met him several times at the National, and this is going to be case studies. Like, I'm convinced Beckett, the story of Beckett's downfall will be case studies in business schools. And especially, I think, with the way that the sports card industry overall has taken off, and there's been a lot of, noteworthy business things happening in this space. This is just a case in what not to do in so many different ways. I think one of the things that's really telling here is Nat Turner was a successful, business person and a successful entrepreneur, but also a diehard card collector. And he came in and bought a company, and he has a mind for the hobby, both for what the hobby has always been and where he thinks it could go. And PSA, I think, while they haven't been perfect, and they're not perfect, has continued to make moves in the right direction over and over and over again. And I think it has a lot to do with that top-down leadership understanding what's good, what's most important, what's valuable. And they still have to run a business, which is why all of us who hate upcharges are going to sit and yell, get rid of upcharges. And the hobby would collectively rejoice if PSA got rid of upcharges, but they're not going to do it because they make too much money off of it. So I just think you look at that, leadership is critically important. Beckett's had like 3 different leadership teams in the last 4 years, I think, and have continued to try. And in most cases, those people were probably just doomed from the start. I just feel bad, honestly, for people who are put into those positions, probably worked a lot of long hours, tried to affect change. And I imagine at the end of the day, it went all the way up the totem pole, and a lot of things were probably vetoed or, who knows. So it's just been one misstep after another. And it's a disappointment to see to Dr. James Beckett's name almost kind of like soiled through this whole process. I have no idea who's going to buy them. I don't know what that sale would look like. I don't know what their financials, ultimately look like. But at this point, it just feels like, I don't know. I stopped sending stuff to Beckett a few years ago when I had a really bad experience with them, and it took them like 15 months to get a card back to me. And it was during COVID and everything, but I don't know. I don't have any interest really in owning very many Beckett cards outside of the few. I have an Andre Drummond Gold rookie BGS 10 prism that I'm not going to crack out because it's a BGS 10. But other than that, I look around and I'm like, I might even crack them out and have them raw. I don't know.
What percentage of the grading scale is the fault for Beckett's decline? 10%, 25%, 50%?
I would say it's high, right? I didn't want to send it that. Well, not me in particular. I love Beckett. I've always liked their slabs. I still prefer their slabs over PSAs, if I'm being fully transparent. How they look, how they feel. I like them. I like the protection of the cards. I think that the scale is a pivotal part, right? It might not be 50% right now, but it was that. I think that did change their direction a little bit when new people entered the hobby. PSA was simple. They went to PSA. Slightly better returns on that. They went to PSA. And I do think that the BGS scale hurts. We saw CGC come in, try to copy BGS's scale, realize how bad it was, and then they went to PSA scale. Actually, went to SGC scale technically because they have the 9.5 Mint Plus. But it was bad enough for CGC to say, we can't do this, and they switched. But Beckett was just too deep.
And then there was that brief time, remember, when Beckett announced their grading scale change, and the flip was going to change, and then all the min gems were just going to be called gems, and a lot of people were up in arms about that, and then that quickly went away, and that was the last sort of big move that BGS really ever made or tried to make.
They posted their new slabs at the National or some sort of sports card show, and people clowned it online. Oh, that wasn't actually what it was going to be. That was just a mock-up. They backtracked. They're just owning it. So they're just doing something. If they would have just done that scale change there'd probably be a better place. I think it was dumb. They should have just made every gem mint card gem mint if they believe that's the grade, in my opinion. But
well, like Ty said too, one of the saddest parts is the goodwill that the name Beckett has. I know you're too young for this, Scott, but when I was growing up, the Beckett Baseball Card Monthly you look forward to because that's the only way you could tell about prices, whose cards were hot and cold. Oh boy, he's got to dig in the basement to find one. So yeah, I feel bad for that. I feel like the Beckett name is not going to have the same cachet that it did before. And if I were Dr. Beckett, I'd try to come and take over back. Maybe he should buy it back at a discount, lend some more credibility, and try to rebuild it that way.
That's a good idea. I will say, as a kid, so this is from 2000. This was 2008, but from like 2005 to 2009, I got them every month, and I looked forward to it. On the back of these, I had basketball and basketball and baseball. This is like actually just the regular Beckett. It's not sports specific, but they used to have like all the cool cards on the back, the big pulls from all the card shops they sent in. I used to look at those for hours. That sounds dramatic, but I literally looked at those for hours. So even I loved Beckett, and it's amazing at how it's all played out. But I have a big stack of my childhood Becketts right next to me, actually. So
good for you.
Are you gonna have a 31-inch waist in time for the national next year, Scott? Looks like you're on track. I was looking at your stomach for a while there when it was on camera.
Oh, was it?
Just with a shirt over it. But I was looking at like the hip to stomach waist ratio.
I'm at 32. I'm at 32 right now, and
we all need to be 31 or lower for the national tie. That you're already there.
Yeah, because I don't own any 31 pants. I am actually, believe it or not, skinnier now than I was in college. So I refuse to buy more clothes. I'm sure I'm going to gain it back in like a month. So it's not
31. I don't think I've had a 31-inch waist since maybe like 8th grade.
We'll get you on Ozempic.
It's a miracle drug. But yeah, so I don't know, Beckett. I really hope that there's bright stuff for them in the future. I hope that they can figure it out. I hope that they're going to be able to bounce back, and wherever they land, it's a good situation for them. But do I think it's going to happen? Cardboard consensus on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being Beckett will be back. 1 being they're going to be gone. Where do we think they're going to be? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. I'm such a coward. I said 3, which is just it's the cheap way out. Good for you, Jeff. I
have high hopes. And in fact, I really like my own idea of Dr. Beckett buying it back. Maybe we can talk.
He won't do it. He won't do it. I don't think he wants that smoke.
He's got a pretty good gig.
I don't know if he can afford to do it. Not that he's not. I don't know how wealthy he is. It's not like a.
I don't think I've talked to him. I sat next to him on the bus at the National on the way back to the hotel this year and talked to him for about 30 minutes. And I've listened to him on podcasts. In fact, I think people have even asked him like if he's consulting for them, and he's not a guy at this. I don't think he's the kind of guy who really cares about legacy. I think he's, and not in a bad way. I think he's just like, you know what? I've got family, and he likes to go through the dollar bins, at shows. Like, I think he built an empire and built a brand and then kind of said, all right, I'm going to push that over there and take the payday and kind of go do my own thing and just enjoy a simpler life. That's what I think.
So we don't have sponsors on this show. So this is why we're allowed to say stuff what I'm about to say. And Beckett seems like Dr. Beckett seems like a great guy, and he's been on a lot of podcasts, and nobody's ever just called him a grifter like they would about a lot of other public figures in this hobby, as far as I'm aware. He's probably a little defensive and considers Beckett his baby a little bit. I mean, it was a company he built, right? So somebody asked him, like a live comment came in when he was like with Jeremy Lee, and it was asking him, hey, so what's up with BCCG? Why did you do that? Remember the
yeah. It was their cheap alternative. Yeah.
And the way he defined that, he gave a very like business answer. It's like, well, I was trying to meet the needs of people that didn't want to pay for the the higher level service. So it's like differentiating with like lower cost wine at a steakhouse, medium cost, then you've got like the $100 plus bottles of wine. So but the counterpoint to that is like, yeah, but you're like hurting the brand by creating this like joke slab product / service that, I mean, it's also misleading the grading scale. Like, why would the grading scale be different for these customers. But yeah.
All right. Well, does anybody want to guess from April 2008 on who the hot list number one was for football? Just the player, not the card. 2008.
2008?
Adrian Peterson.
Okay, Adrian Peterson. Anybody else want to guess?
Oh, wait, that's just like who's going up the most?
Hot list is like what card is the hottest. So
when was this?
2008, April 2008.
Oh, wow.
Any guesses? Jeff already guessed. It was Adrian Peterson. Good job, Jeff.
Oh, good guess.
It was? I'm very impressed, actually.
That's a good guess. I was trying to think of somebody else, like if it could be Manning or
Adrian Peterson with the top 3 spots.
Look at that.
How about basketball? Who was number 1 in basketball? 2008.
That's
LeBron.
LeBron. Anybody else? Just all 3 LeBron?
No, maybe Carmelo.
Kevin Durant. That was his rookie year.
Well, that was his. I was going to say Durant.
That was the end of his rookie year.
Tarantula.
Yeah.
And then if you can guess baseball, I will personally Venmo you $500 tonight. Nope, you're going to Google it. You're going to Google it. I don't trust you guys.
Ryan Braun.
Ryan Braun. Anybody else?
No.
This is spring 2008.
Too late.
Spring. Who won? Well,
Pujols.
Not Pujols. That was your guess. Ty, you have the last guess.
Give us a team.
I'll wait till Ty guesses first. 3, 2.
Derek Jeter.
The Twins is the team.
Oh,
Justin Morneau or Mauer.
Nope.
Mauer.
And neither.
Johan Santana.
Yep. Johan Santana was the number 1. It was his Fleer Tradition Update rookie card. If you can guess number 2, it was Hillary Clinton is number 2. Her short print from 2008 Upper Deck Presidential was number 2. So that's a short print you don't have, Jeff.
I do not have that. The presidential set.
They were going for $1,000 at this time, which is huge for a short print in 2008. So going with there now. Anyways, is that enough Beckett talk for the day? We're not confident on them. Beckett, we want you to succeed. I hope someone buys you and does a good job with you. I think we're all in agreement. If that's going to happen, we'll see. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.